Do I have any limitations?
There are two questions that you could be asking. The answer to that is no, but there's another question. Am I focused on limitations? Do I believe I have limitations? Do I believe I have limitations, or do I have any limitations, are two different questions. So which question do you think you're asking? You can be or do or have anything. So what you mean is, can I fly? Well, if you're willing to go in your dream state, you're not going to defy gravity. That belief in this environment is a stable, important one. So why are you wanting to test the limits of what you believe?
So limitation is based completely on my beliefs.
On your perception.
On my perception.
Completely.
In regards to manifestation, I am ready to receive clarity on the balance between
perfect words,
my inner alignment's relationship with the vortex,
yes,
and my need to take intentional action.
Yeah, perfect question. We want the intentional action to be inspired action, because just flipping it from intentional to inspired, let yourself be moved to act. Don't move out of a feeling of responsibility to make something happen through your action. That's why we're talking about getting into the receiving mode and then following the impulse, no matter how illogical it might seem. Because intention often, doesn't need to, but intention often gets tangled up in your human thoughts, which is tangled up with your beliefs, where when you're in alignment and inspired to do something, that's that feeling of impulse, then your beliefs are out of the way and you've got clear sailing on the smoothest path.
Really good.
Want to go further with any part of it? Sometimes people think when they listen to us for a while that we are really teaching against action, because we're so heavy on or so constant about vibration and alignment and meditation and so forth. And we are not at all about non-action. We think action is one of the most delicious parts of being physical, but being in alignment and then inspired action is, oh, it's so satisfying. But when you're acting to try to compensate for the energy that you didn't align, that's hard work.
And how do you find that balance?
By acknowledging what you're doing that feels like struggle and what you're doing that feels like bliss, and noticing that it's not about subject, or that it doesn't need to be about subject. It's about alignment within a subject. Any subject could be struggle or bliss. Any subject could be struggle or bliss, and every subject can be bliss or struggle.
And so it's just about continually harmonizing both. Saying, this is what I want to do, and simultaneously, this is how I'm going to do it. You know, at what point do I open myself to the vibration, I meditate on it, but then at what point do I pull out the paper, put down the vision, and then enact it?
It's so helpful when you realize that the process is 1, 2, 3 steps. There are more, 4 and 5, we talked about that, but 1, 2, 3, those are the steps that matter. Step 1 is you've asked, and step 2 is it's been answered, and step 3 is you find a way to believe that what you are asking for is. You find the satisfaction in it even before it manifests. So what happens, this is the way we'd like you to see it. So life has caused you, through its contrast, to want something, and it's vivid and it's real and it's done and it's present tense. So now you can't really find that all the time, because, as you say, you're human, and so you're not always a vibrational match to the vortex. You're actually more of a vibrational match to what's already going on. But now you know about this, and now you think about it from time to time, and now you've decided that you're not going to try to think your way there or talk your way there. You're just going to not talk your way away from there. So you quiet your mind on a regular basis, and you begin to experience the blissful state of a detachment. You've quieted your mind. Feels a bit like floating. Esther can't tell her nose from her toe. She can feel energy moving up her back. It moves about in different ways, but clearly she's not attached to her thoughts. She's detached from them. She can feel it. So then you're in that state, and then you're not trying to make anything happen. Whatever's happening is just fine with you. You're sort of in this attitude of willingness and trust. And then your meditation time is ending, and as you're coming out of it, you feel an impulse. Nothing very important, maybe important, but maybe not, just an impulse. And just for kicks, you follow the impulse, and you have a nice time. And you do this consistently enough that you begin to expect that you're going to get more and more impulses, and they don't only have to come right after meditation. You get yourself into this place where Esther calls it, oh, the magic is happening again. And she knows it's not magic, but she calls it that because she can feel when she gets in a state of being where everything must cooperate with her, and is. And there's just this flow, smiles from people, and dogs that walk by, and birds that fly into her experience, and thoughts that come to her, and ideas that come to her, and most of all, feelings of well-being and exhilaration and passion and satisfaction that are moving through her. What most humans would call illogical. Then you accept that you are a steady receiver, and those impulses are real, they're wise, and they have payoffs. You obviously realizing the benefit of where you're at. So what we're getting at with this explanation is it's the difference between accepting that your life in step one is the true creative work. Don't like that, prefer that. Don't like rudeness, like niceness. Don't like confusion, like clarity. Don't like clutter, like things being in place. Don't like do like, don't like, do like, don't like, do like. So you've created, that's your creative process. That's when you were gathering up all the materials. That was your creative process. You've done it, and it exists, and it is done. And all of those components that you put there are cooperating with each other. And your inner being, that broader part of you, that you, has attention only on that. So you meditate. Maybe it's because you can't think of anything else to do, or maybe we've convinced you that it would be helpful. You meditate, you let your vibration rise, and now you and you are one. Doesn't mean that everything that you will ever want will flow to you in this moment. That wouldn't be fun. Just enough for this moment, just what you're ready for in this moment, just the way we pick you from this crowd. Your desire is there, and we choose you relative to your readiness to receive. No point in having a long conversation that everybody gets it but you. Your readiness to receive it, that's the process. That's all there is. You created it in step one. Source tended to the creation, and law of attraction gathered the cooperative components and added big time, huge momentum to it. Ooh, that's why you can be or do or have anything you can believe you can be or do or have. But that believing part, if you're ever here not believing because you've never done it before, you've never beat it or halved it or doed it before, so why would you believe it now? Well, you got to let that part become dormant for a little bit and let your vibration rise to the part of you who knows your creator, who remembers who you are, who knows what's possible. And then your inner being just feeds you through impulses, whatever you're ready for the most blissful unfolding of delicious life experience that you could ever dream for.
And can there be, as you go into that state where you feel it, you let it go, you let the intention match up with the vortex, and you feel that vibration, and you get the impulse, and you move towards it, can you move into action too strong
there
at
you
some
go.
point?
Yes, you can, but you'll feel it. You'll feel tension in that, because sometimes you'll be inspired and then you'll click into the old action part of what you usually do, but you'll feel it. You'll feel the strain. You'll get more and more sensitive to this as you play with it. But it's like riding a bicycle, a really worn out analogy. You don't get your balance until you get your balance. So you have to go for it. You have to just let yourself play with this until you feel it. So what this question is about is, how specific should I be about what I want? And we say, be as specific as you can be without feeling tension in it. Because if you start getting too specific, you'll feel tension in it, which means you're no longer helping. So that's when we say, step back into a more general place. Be as specific as you can be. What a wonderful question. How do I know when to turn on the gas? When you've found your balance. If you haven't found your balance, don't run. But once you've found your balance, then you'll be inspired to do all kinds of things that you might not do when you don't have your balance. You just have to play with it. You just have to play with it. And before long, you'll know right where you are all the time. And you'll find yourself saying, maybe a friend who every time that friend calls and says, let's do this, you always say, okay, and you drop everything and you go. But this time you say, I'll catch you later, because the impulse for balance is stronger than the influence from another. You see what we're getting at? And the people around you will just have to adjust to the new and improved and more balanced you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. We have enjoyed the interaction with you, specifically with you. The vibrational place that you brought to this room was wonderful at the beginning, and even more wonderful now. Lots of shifting, lots of understanding, lots of clarity, and lots of influence, not just from our words to you, not just from our vibration interpreted by Esther into words for you, but your relationship with your own inner being and your softening of resistance and your allowing of vibration to rise, which allowed the clarity that you felt, and you know what we're talking about. So there's really nothing serious going on. You are creators here to create. And you're not here as problem solvers. You're here as solution discoverers. But one comes before the other. You're not here as fixers of broken things. You're here as discoverers of new things. And sometimes you just don't look for the new thing until the old thing feels broken to you. It doesn't have to be broken for you to evolve, but it doesn't hurt that it sometimes is. So your life experience is showing you all kinds of wonderful things. You're right on track. Everything is unfolding so well. Be easy about it and trust this, that your inner being knows you, knows everything about you, knows every desire, knows every regret. Your inner being does not focus upon the regret part of your regret. Your inner being focuses upon what you're asking for as a result of it. And so you have such attention and such appreciation and such, there's no other word for it other than power backing you, rooting for you, and loving with you in absence of any judgment, in absence of any forgiveness. Your inner being will never forgive you, because your inner being has never evaluated you as inappropriate to begin with. And when you let that go and you let the love that Source has for you flow through you, well, then you're just going to live happily ever after. There is great love here for you. And as always, we remain in your vortex.
Don't forget to leave a positive message and subscribe.